It's time for the movie rating. Tonight's reoccurring victims is actor Ray Hopper and actress Jules Theresa that has played in Friday the 13th Vengeance and is in the upcoming short film called Snowfalls. Hello.
Hello.
Hey there.
Let's get right into the Snowfall. So tell us a little bit about the plot and a little bit about your characters. We'll start with the plot, and Jules, go ahead and talk about your character as well after the plot.
So the plot is Captain Allison Snow. She's a 3-time deployed veteran in the United States Army. She's a military police officer. After her last deployment, she comes home, and she has a mental breakdown, and she starts accusing people in the town of doing stuff. And she makes a fool of the police department and the entire town. So because of that, she loses custody of her daughter. She's ruled an unfit mother. She loses her civilian job as a police officer, and the entire town just thinks she's nuts. Snowfall takes place a year after her breakdown. She's working as a CASOPS officer, a casualty assistance officer, and she gets this new neighbor in town. His name is Miles Fossler. For a while, she falls for his charm. The entire town loves him. He's the Little League baseball coach. He's the good construction worker. He's the good, I'll come mow your lawn kind of a neighbor kind of a guy if you can't do it yourself. She falls for his charm. She falls for him. Everybody loves him. But then people start going missing, and all these newspaper articles start coming out talking about how these victims are killed and stuff like that. And she starts thinking to herself, none of this happened. This is a quiet town. None of this happened until Miles moved here. So while simultaneously dating him, she's trying to break him down to figure out what his deal is, and she's researching him while they're still dating. Essentially, she goes to the police department about him, and they don't believe her. They think she's crazy. The entire town's against her. So she's finding herself at a battle of, how do I prove that this suburban guy really is a serial killer? Or is she really just crazy? Nobody's really going to know until they read the book and get to the ending. So I play Allison Snow. She's pretty heavily based off of real-life events with me, because I've done a lot in my military career, and I've seen a lot, and I suffer from a lot of experiences between that and the fire department, so she's very heavily based off of me. She's strong-willed, a little naive. The most important thing to her is her daughter, Mia Snow, who's played by Sanaya in the short film. Essentially, that's me in plotline, and now Ray can tell you about his character.
I play Miles Foster, and I'm innocent, so don't believe anything that you hear anybody say about me.
It's only on the internet. That's the only place you can find the truth.
Exactly. If you found it out there, it's not true about me. So, but because Allison has lost all credibility with the local townsfolk, they find it easier to believe that Miles Fossler, baseball coach volunteer, is an innocent, upstanding citizen. He's a nice guy. He doesn't have a record. There's nothing about him that shows any red flags or anything. We kind of take the story from there, and it twists and turns. And we've had tons and tons of conversation about character development and background on Miles' character. As she said before, that a lot of her character is based on real life experiences. So that is pretty much set in stone from what she has. So we've been working a lot on Miles. So it's been a really, really crazy, incredibly fun journey.
Sounds very interesting. Now, Jules, when it comes with the story of a woman, a soldier, going through a critical emotional time, do you think the opinions of the gender in the situation can be better recognized and used rather than used as an emotional Band-Aid?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that was a concern I had when I was writing this story. I started writing the story, actually, when I was deployed in Germany, and we were at a pier, and there was this little dock where you got to see people who immigrated from Germany to America. There was a book, and you got to go back and look up all these names of these people that ported out of Bremerhaven, Germany to go to the United States. And I was stationed there for quite a while, and I was looking at all these names, and I found my grandparents' names, actually, which is Fossler, which Ray's character, the last name is named after. And I was just thinking, this is a really cool name. What could I do with this in a story? And then it just further developed, and then being anywhere in the military, you really bond with the people you're with, and you share these experiences. I remember there was one night everybody was just sitting and talking about what we missed from home and past deployment experiences and stuff like that. And I was just like, veteran PTSD isn't taken that seriously. Nowadays, people just say, they view it as a sign of weakness, like, oh, you signed up to be in the military, you should be able to handle whatever you see. But it's a growing problem. I mean, 22 veterans a day take their own life. That's real life stuff. So when I wrote the story, I had in the mindset, a lot of people think, oh, fiction, this isn't true life. But when they read the book, in the actual book, I have something in the beginning of the book that acknowledges veteran PTSD, and I mention a lot of the things that Allison goes through. One of the flashback scenes in particular is a straight-out real-life experience. So yeah, I definitely address it in the beginning of the book because I don't want people to view it as a fictional thing. PTSD is a very, I'm sure Ray can attest to this, PTSD is a very real thing in today's world. It's getting worse because veterans aren't getting the help that they need. So my hope is that this book that I wrote and Ray is actually my co-author officially. He's writing the story with me, and the trilogy continues. We really hope to get that awareness out there.
Yeah, and when it comes to that film portion of everything, it's just that, yeah, there's a lot of half-truth stories. I mean, yes, they're based on true events. Yes, they're based on true people. But unfortunately, they derive away from, what was the real serious topic at hand here, like PTSD. This is something that, people go through. This is something that, putting it onto film for people to look at, it almost can't be taken seriously because they twist it around. They don't really go right through it and actually show the true emotion of what these people have gone through.
Exactly.
Jules, having to go through a soldier's mental state and having to assume your neighbor is out to kill you or kill anybody else, how much process do you have to adjust and go through to go into this kind of connection with the audience as well as with the character itself at the same time?
So there's a scene that Ray and I shot together when we were filming out here in Philadelphia, and when you guys see the trailer, you're going to know the scene that I'm referring to right now. It's a very empowering, even the cast and crew, when we were filming, after we filmed this scene, one of the actors was like, I need to take a break and walk away and go relax for a second because that was a really intense scene. So whenever I'm trying to get into Allison's mindset, because there's a scene in the book that we're going to be filming as something for sponsors for our feature film. We're going to be filming that scene at some point, and it's going to be, and Ray and I have talked about this, it's a very emotional scene dealing with PTSD. Pretty much I draw my inspiration from a real-life experience, and I've talked to so many soldiers that have been through stuff worse than me, and hearing their stories, and also being a casualty assistance officer for the Army and dealing with these notifications and all this stuff, especially with vets that commit suicide. It's really easy for me to get into that mindset of what's really going on. And Ray's been in the military. He can probably attest to this as well. The military is a gigantic brother-sisterhood. So when I'm channeling Allison, I'm not just channeling my experiences, I'm channeling the experiences of every single other veteran out there who's had a traumatic experience. So I just really have to get into the mindset of these other veterans that are going to be watching this. I want them to know that they're safe, and I want them to know that. I want them to know that this film is going to really put the emphasis on the PTSD, and you'll see that scene when we film it. You're going to see the scene, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when you see it.
Well, I definitely seen the actual trailer scene that was floating around with the military scene. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but you go check that out with Snow Falls, and you'll find it floating around. But I mean, I definitely know what you're talking about on the visual aspect of things. Having to go through this kind of emotion before, and then having to almost relive that, going back to such a traumatic experience into a character on film and reliving that stuff. I mean, it's kind of dangerous, but at the same time, that takes a very, very long time, I would imagine, to adjust and get back into there without actually having to, go off the rails.
Right, exactly. That's kind of a method actor thing. Like Stephen Amell from Arrow, there was a scene, and I remember, because I escorted him for shows, he was talking about how this one scene for Arrow, it was a torture scene, and he said he locked himself in his room for hours and was listening to this really intense music, and he didn't eat, he didn't sleep, he just did this method acting to get himself in that mindset. And Ray has a scene in the trailer where the character kind of has to get kind of enraged, and watching Ray do that scene was really holy crap. So there's a lot of emotion built into this trailer that you're going to see, and hopefully you'll be and enjoy it.
I can lose my mind pretty easily, so I just hope that the cameras are rolling when I do it.
I mean, shoot. I mean, with your build, I'm pretty sure you can just scare the camera in itself. Just hit record, and I'm going to go in the other room for a little bit.
Yeah, I can really come unhinged pretty easily. The nice thing is, I found a home for it. I've never been asked in any audition or interview or seen in a movie, Ray, can you ramp it up a little bit? Normally people are worried about me crashing through a wall to actually show them something this is how serious I take it. I don't pull any punches because that's what people want to be. People want to see that. They want to have something to relate to, and this character Miles is 100% unhinged. But at the same time, he's incredibly intelligent and very, very calculating. So he doesn't have the appearance of being unhinged. There's love, hate, tragedy. I mean, it's every emotion you can think of to the extreme wrapped up in this. And I try to bring it to life with her in the trailer for the book. But I guarantee that we'll probably all wind up in the loony bin after the film is completed, the feature. But it'll be entertaining for a lot of folks. So.
Yeah, Ryan and I'll be doing puzzles together in the corner.
Yeah, I could see that happening. But Ray, when it comes to playing your character, having to play this in this kind of a state, not only do you have to take in on her character, on Jules' character, but I mean, is it kind of a learning process as well as a challenge on its own, coinciding between two characters at the same time as before your end as well?
Yeah, I mean, you can ask Julia for sure about what I'm like when we're on set. Right before we shoot a scene, or even the entire duration of the time we were back in Philadelphia shooting this. She was constantly approaching me, asking me if something is wrong, and I was literally just in my own head to stay there. Miles is in a really, really, really dark place before and during and after the story takes place. So as much as a goof off as I am in real life, I take the character really, really seriously. I suppose a really, really gifted actor can go from hanging out and telling jokes and stuff like that to action, and then being full on in the darkest place they've been in their lives. I don't have that exact gift. I have to go there and stay there, and it keeps me from being Ray. It makes me Miles Foster for the duration of shooting. I mean, even that was a few weeks ago, and I still feel like there's elements of him that are still lingering there, because we've been talking about the story day in and day out. This is what our lives are revolving around right now, is to get the story out there. So yeah, it's an interesting journey, to say the least.
It's almost like with your character, it's like the whole monster in the box type method, where you stay in this box, you're acting this particular way, and you don't come out until it's done for whatever reason, and that way you'll know exactly what kind of emotions to go through, and only those emotions, no distractions, no doubts, no nothing of what this or what ifs or nothing like that. It's straightforward, to the point, in your face. The kind of acting, the kind of playing, and the character, that's the kind the audience deserve to see, and that's what makes the story more full of suspense, horror, whatever it is you're trying to make across.
Yeah, if you watch, that's an interesting point. If you watch movies from the 60s, 70s, 80s, or whatever, the quality of the audio and video exponentially better now than it was back then. You can't hide. I mean, you literally cannot hide your emotions on TV. If you're having a crummy day and you're trying to play a happy guy, you can see right through that. I mean, a couple films that I've seen on a jumbo screen in movie theater of myself, I know for a fact that you can't dodge what the audience will see. So you have to get there and stay there. And I like that part about it. It's a tragic place to be for a character like this guy that I'm playing, but that's the only way that I want to do it. I don't want to do anything on the cheap. The bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten. So I like to go all out. It's like buying cheap tools and trying to work on something and make a beautiful piece of art. I go all out. It's a tough character to play. So.
I can imagine that of what the kind of emotions that your character would be going through as well, because of putting off this like sweet candy with a rotten inner core.
I like the candy with the rotten inner core metaphor. You could be onto something, Mike.
Well, when it comes to the energy between, since you guys have been in Friday the 13th Vengeance together, I mean, has the energy between you two in this film, Snowfalls, has it changed, or has it been a different kind of energy between the two in terms of working with two different sets of characters?
We can't talk about the relationship between our characters in Vengeance just yet, but absolutely, doing this film together, and just from the photos alone that you've seen, these two characters have, I mean, Ray and I talk all day, every day. He knows that he's my number one, and I think this experience has absolutely brought us closer. I mean, Ray, I brought him on as my co-author just a couple days ago officially, but I've been thinking about it for a while, and like I told Ray the other night, when I wrote this story, there was a completely different take, and when I met Ray back in September, I knew that whenever I started talking, I thought about the story and bring it to life, and there was just something about him that I was just like, I want Ray to be this character. So in December and January, I completely rewrote my book entirely, like a year's worth of work. I spent 2 months writing from 6 a.m. until almost midnight trying to rewrite this book, just because I really wanted, based off of knowing Ray and Ray coming into my life. So I said this to Ray the other day, if it weren't for him, there'd be no Snowfalls. So this project is all happening because of him, essentially.
Massively humbled by all of that. I think that if anything, Jules has a fire that she's created, and I just keep throwing balls of paper on it to keep it going. Super, super excited to be a part of. The ideas that we bounce off each other, obviously, we both have super creative minds, especially her. And then we play off each other really well. Well, what if this character did this, and what about that? And then when we get to this fork in the road, what happens then? Well, let's discuss that. At the end of it, this amazing tale. I was really excited when she said that there are people that want us to create this into a trilogy. That took a lot of pressure off, but at the same time also added an intense amount to deliver. There's not going to be any time for anybody that they want to blink when they're watching this, because it's pretty intense.
Yeah, and there's only a handful of actual dramatic suspense mixture type of films out there that could actually really captivate the audience like that. Sometimes it's just the story just will go plain and it will go dark, because then at some point we're not going to understand, okay, what happened there, you know, why did he do this or why did she do that and so forth, and without having no rhyme or reason. I mean, at some point there's got to be a reason within the story between characters at some point, even if it is, you know, exaggerated or embellished. I mean, it's got to make sense to some rhyme or reason to the audience.
Right, exactly.
A couple submitted questions just for you two. This comes from Olivia Banks, and she says, are there any elements of your characters that you see in yourself?
When you see that she's pretty snarky, that's more emphasized in the book than it's going to be in the short. Ray can attest to my snarkiness. I'd probably give him more snark than anybody else in my life. But yeah, she's pretty close to home. There's not really elements about her that aren't like make sense. I write her up to be more of a badass than I actually am in real life. But aside from that, our personalities are pretty close.
As far as Miles or his character goes, Jules developed his character based roughly off of my personality, at least the nice guy part. I mean, if there are bad parts of the character in the book or in the story, I don't know. There could be. But,
I mean, I know about the bodies that you hid, but it's okay. I'm not going to tell anybody about that. Oh, wait, are we recording?
I'm completely innocent. Remember that. There's certain parts of Miles that Jules intentionally wrote after myself, but they're all good ones. All the nice parts.
Jules, what made you pick the cast that you did for Snowfalls?
For the short, so Ray, I knew Ray from, like I mentioned before, I knew I wanted to be Miles, because this is a character I created from scratch, mixed with Ray, and without a doubt, I think it was on his birthday, I asked him to be Miles for me. I believe that's when I asked him originally. As far as the rest of the cast, Jason Brooks is in it, Tabitha Bastine, Sanaya Lucis, Jason Reynolds, Janae Nows, Morgan from, Beloved Beast. These are all people that I studied them up. I worked them on Vengeance. I saw some of their reels. And there's no one character in this book that's not based off of somebody important from my past or Ray's past. So I wanted to pick people that I knew were going to do these characters justice. And, yeah, we all like to have fun on set. I'm pretty goofy. Ray's pretty goofy. But at the same time, I want somebody who's going to do these characters right. And Jason Brooks especially, his character, Lieutenant Christopher Briggs, a Philadelphia police officer, he's named after a staff sergeant I was in the National Guard with who was killed overseas. So, I knew that Jason takes that role very seriously. And in discussions with him about the character, he's ready to dive into that. And he asked me every single day when we're finally going to shoot in Seattle. So essentially everybody I picked was because I wanted to do these characters justice. Very
cool. Go ahead and plug in any websites or anything that we can check out, your novel, everything related to Snowfalls.
Well, we have an official Facebook page. It's called Snowfalls on Facebook, so if people want to like our page and see what we're doing and stuff like that. And if you want to like a light form film, Nook, however you pronounce their name, Swancho,
Swancho, yes.
Yes, they're the ones that are our filmmaker, our film team and stuff like that. They're incredible. They do amazing work. Ray and I have both worked with them before, Ray more so than me. Definitely check out their page too and some work that they have. It's really, really good stuff. We're going to be in His Name is Jason together, and we have the Snowfalls trilogy. We're also going to be working on my cousin's fiance is Jeff Hare. He works out in L.A. We put together a script for a movie called 1017. It's an EMT cop story that centers around a terrorist attack, actually. So me and Ray, my husband and wife in that, and then Morgan Johnson and his wife are in that with us also. It's a 4-person cast with a mysterious fifth person who will be playing the mayor. So it's going to be a small, cool film to do. So looking forward to that one also. But Snowfalls takes priority right now.
That is Ray Hopper and Jules Theresa about Snowfalls.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having us.